Hey guys, tonight we open the pages of something that isn't quite a book, and certainly not just a diary. No, this is a folio bound in the intimate remains of obsession, guilt, and hunger. It doesn't simply tell you a story, it feeds on the act of remembering. And you've come to the place where the remembering begins. The manor breathes, and you are already inside, so, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your current location and time in the comments, if you're brave enough. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step through the gate, and the rust doesn't screech its sighs. The hinges exhale as if disappointed to see you arrive. The house ahead is neither ruined nor maintained. Its shape holds like a wound that never closed. Vines creep across the eaves, but not upward sideways, as if resisting gravity or mapping something below. Your fingers brush the iron latch of the front door. It's warm, not sun-warmed, blood-warmed. And there's no breeze. Inside, the dust moves oddly. You'd swear it drifts toward you, not away, as if recognizing something familiar in your scent. The entry hall bears no portraits, only bone hooks where paintings once hung. Above each, a little nameplate, Mother's Smile, Harvest with Father, The Goat That Wouldn't Die, no canvases. Just the names and faint smears where something was once cleaned hurriedly. Then the air tightens. You feel it behind you before you hear it. The front door shuts, but not with a bang. It clicks like a tongue in disapproval. You know what they say about the butcher's daughter, don't you? That she carved the truth into her loved ones. That her diary was never written, but extracted. The rumor says she began with fingers, then vertebrae, not for cruelty, for clarity. And it's in this manner, the one that does not age, only deepens, that you've come seeking the folio. Locals call it the butcher's recipe book or the gospel of flesh, depending on how many family members they've lost. The grand staircase looms ahead. Its banister is bare, but speckled stains that didn't soak down the wood, but up from it, you glance upward. Something scuttles across the ceiling, but the light refuses to catch it. In the drawing room, you find it. Not all at once, just the first piece, a bone shard, flat and wide like a butcher's token, resting on a cracked leather armchair. Carved with neat etchings in an alphabet not entirely your own. And yet you know it, not the words, the feeling behind them. Like someone whispering memories you were never meant to recall. As you read, the air stills. The chair groans slightly beneath the shard, though you aren't sitting in it. And for a moment, you're sure you see something in the nearby fireplace, a shadow too symmetrical to be random. But when you look again, it's only ash. On the back of the shard, something has been scratched in a newer hand, less precise, feral, almost, it says. She began here, where the breath first changed. You step backward, and the wallpaper peels, as if exhaling. A gust of air, not wind, but exhalation, brushes your cheek, hot, damp, like a breath from inside the walls. You've already started reading the folio. That's what no one tells you. It doesn't start with the first page, it starts with your touch. That's the Marrow Ink secret. It lives on intimacy. You step into the kitchen. The knives are clean. Almost too clean, but not arranged. They lie scattered across the counter like they were dropped mid-thought. The largest cleaver is embedded. Something more ... personal. A wet click like lips parting after too long sealed. You approach the door. On the frame, more carvings, vertical lines, counted like days in a cell, 46. Below that, written in blood-black ink, on the 47th day, I remembered how she smiled when she peeled peaches and how easily the skin came away. The door opens inward, and the cold hits you like an accusation. Not ice cold, cellar cold, the kind that holds meat. Or memory. You find nothing inside, no shelves, no food. Just the scent of long-dead lavender and something ... deeper, beneath the floor, perhaps. That's when you see it etched faintly into the stone just inside the pantry, to enter her mind. Begin where breath first stopped. The shard in your palm, warm now, you're holding more than memory. You're holding her beginning, and something in the ceiling above shifts. Leaving a thin dusting of ash on your shoulder, you brush it away, but it sticks. The shard vibrates again, not like a thing alive, but like a thing being called above you. The dust moves in an unsettling spiral, and the air takes on the coppery taste of breath held too long. You step away from the pantry. The kitchen light, such as it is, dims without flickering. Not a bulb issue, more like a memory trying to fade. The manor pulls at your senses subtly now, the way the corners lean. The way the floorboards creak in phrases, not patterns. There's a rhythm beneath your feet, and it is not yours. A grandfather clock ticks in the hallway. You hadn't noticed it earlier, but now you hear it distinctly. Tick, 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 then silence. They've been replaced with thin femurs, each shaved and varnished, fitted so precisely you'd only notice if you touched them, which you do. And feel it warmth again, a slight tremor, almost affectionate, at the top of the stairs, a long hallway lined with closed doors. But one of them stands slightly ajar, oozing a low ember light. Not flickering, glowing, you move toward it. Each footstep is a word. As you pass the second door, you pause. Painted across it in faded red, do not unlock this one again. Underneath, an old keyhole stares up at you, not a lock, a pupil. The brass glimmers weightily, and you move on. The light from the open door grows stronger, but not warmer. The room you enter once belonged to someone who loved words. Shelves buckle under the weight of books, but not one has a title. The spines are made of skin. You run your hand along one and it pulses faintly, as if sighing. In the center of the room, a desk. Atop it, a pile of small vertebrae arranged like a diary. The page on top reads, Day 3 of her transformation. She forgets her name, but not the scent of marrow. She names the bones instead. This one is called forgiveness. You pick up the vertebra. Something sharp beneath it pricks your palm. You lift it. Beneath is another shard. Larger, thicker, still warm. This one bears a sentence in that same strange language, but the moment your fingers close around it, you understand. Not translation, comprehension. She wept only once when the mirror refused to show her face. You look up. There is a mirror on the far wall, gilded, cracked. But it doesn't reflect the room, not exactly. It reflects you, but younger, innocent, whole, smiling. Then the smile twitches, and you realize your reflection isn't mimicking you. It's remembering you, and it doesn't want to let go. You step away from the mirror. It continues smiling. Just behind your reflection, a figure appears. A young woman, hair tangled, eyes hollow, lips stitched with thread. Her hands rest on your shoulders. You spin, nothing. But the warmth of her touch lingers. She's following the shards, like you, or through you. That's when you notice the third shard embedded in the desk itself, like a tumor that grew through the wood. You don't want to touch it, but you do. It hums low and deep. Like a choral note sung by the dead, the folio was not written, it wrote. She fed it the moments she wanted to forget. And it remembered for her, always, the floorboards shift, not underfoot. You pick it up, despite the voice in your head saying, enough, enough, this is where it began. And the lights go out, not slowly, all at once, enough to show the mirror again. Now it's blank, no reflection, no face. Just a surface waiting to be written upon. Behind you, the desk creaks, a whisper, breathy and familiar, brushes the nape of your neck. What do you want to forget? You turn, nothing. But the room is different now. The books have changed. Their bindings no longer skin, but faces, yours among them. And all the spines grin. You drop the shard. It doesn't fall, it floats, and from somewhere deep in the house, you hear it again. Tick, 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 the clock's resumed. The black psalm of Vorther claims basil masks the scent of sentient ink. But no one in Vorther is still around to test that theory. You move down the hall, the door you were told not to unlock. It breathes now. The brass keyhole exhales slowly, like a lung remembering the ocean. You press on past it, to the end of the hall, another door. A child's bedroom. You open it, empty, except for a single rocking horse, gently moving. No breeze. A shard rests in the horse's saddle. You take it, and as you do, the rocking stops. The voice again. She hid her memories in toys first, until they screamed. The shard is colder than the others. Its edges are not jagged, but curved, worn, perhaps, by use or grief. The sensation you get as you turn it in your palm is not pain, but longing. You stand in the child's bedroom longer than you mean to. The rocking horse, still frozen now, casts a shadow that it shouldn't. It reaches the wrong way, toward the moonlight seeping through the cracked window. That shadow stretches too far, spills under the bed, and pulls. You feel a tug. Beneath the bed, something shifts. You crouch slowly. The darkness doesn't recede when you lower your eyes. It thickens. The stuffing smells faintly of nutmeg and rust. You withdraw your hand. The rabbit blinks twice. You stand abruptly, the shard now fully visible in your palm. This one bears no symbols. It remembered everyone. The wind outside sighs impossibly soft, like fabric being folded by a mother long since gone. As you turn to leave, your eyes catch a painting nailed to the wall, and one other spoken louder than the rest, Isola. You don't remember knowing anyone by that name. But your pulse quickens, at the base of the stairs now. They twitch at the sight of you and freeze when you meet their gaze. You move past, quickly now. The house has begun to adjust itself. The dining room door was not open before. It is now. A chair rocks backward, then forward, then stops. An empty plate before you fills slowly, not with food, but with loose teeth. Milk teeth, tiny and gleaming, arranged in a perfect spiral. Stitched lips, hollow gaze. Taller than she should be, she doesn't move. But her fingers rest on your shoulders again, and they are heavy with memory. On the table. On the seventh night, she realized the Folio had learned her voice, and it never needed her again. The dining room groans, not the house, the room. As if it knows you now, or worse, remembers you. Floor tilting beneath your feet like a drunken ship. The smell intensifies, not rot, not blood, paper. Old, wet, yellowing paper. And something sharp beneath it all, memory. You descend. And descend, the stairs change. First wood, then stone, then bone, the walls contract. And you're not walking anymore. You're being carried by a rhythm, the same tick you once heard. Now faster, faster, ... then gone. You find yourself before a door. Smaller than the others, child height. You kneel, the door swings open. Inside, a library no bigger than a coffin. And it's full of whispers. ... Each book hums, moans. They are not books, they are journals. Bound in hair, some yours, all of them scrawled with a single name on their covers. The hallway stretches longer with every breath you take, as though the manor leans into your fear. Your steps echo behind you even though no one follows. Each footfall is accompanied by a faint slosh, as if the walls themselves bleed. A door appears to your left, not one you saw before. The wood is polished smooth, rimmed by thin rib bones arranged like a halo. Carved into the frame, in faint marrow-etched letters, "Dinner with Ghosts." You push it open. Inside, the air tastes of iron and old laughter. At its head sits Isola herself, or a specter of her. Pale skin over sun-withered cheeks, eyes like memory pits. She wears that black apron again. Here's how it unfolds. You step closer. The chair at the head of the table creaks, though no weight enters it. You sit, because the seat is warm, as though someone just stood. You glance around. The other 3 chairs swivel slowly in unison. Dripping like wax tears across the table edge. Isola leans forward. Her apron-cord hands rest on the table. She doesn't speak. Instead, her eyes drain light from the room. Not figures, but leftovers, grief, devotion, hunger. They slide forward like mist. You feel them lean in, hovering just over the bone forks, hungry for your reaction. Isola speaks not with words. There's no lock, just the bones clicking into place like trapped teeth closing. You turn, the room gone, the hull ahead straight again. The smell of basil lingers, bitter and sweet, in your palm. The floor shifts beneath your feet, the hallway has changed direction. You continue, but behind you, the manor eats what you left. And what you write will rewrite what it keeps. You descend. The stairs weren't there before, but that means little now. The manor rearranges itself with your understanding. Or perhaps in spite of it, the steps spiral downward in a tight helix. A child carving into a doll made of hair and salt. There, a man stitching words into his own chest, letter by letter. There, a woman dancing on a cliff, her feet never touching stone. She gestures toward the center of the room. A pedestal rises, upon it a skull, but not just any skull, yours. It stares up with sockets full of shifting text. Her voice cracks like pages turning in a damp cellar. They never understood. To keep love, I had to bind it. To make them stay, I had to give them chapters. She steps aside. The mirrors shift again. You now see the creation of the folio, each entry inked not onto paper, but directly into bone ribs, clavicles, femurs, skulls. Her lovers, her children, her regrets. All catalogued, all silent. You notice something else. As each bone receives its text, it hums a low, mournful note. Music made of regret. One mirror flickers. You step closer. The ink quill floats to your hand. It waits. Isola nods once. It's your turn. You don't know what to write. But the bone remembers. Your hand begins to move. Each word you inscribe appears in the mirrors instantly. Each line changes the faces in the glass. A woman laughs, then screams. A child ages too quickly, turning to dust. A lover walks into the sea, never looking back. These are your creations now. You drop the quill. The mirrors shatter silently. The shards fall inward, vanishing before they hit the floor. The room dims. Isola's figure wavers. Her form begins to fray at the edges, as if the ink that once made her has begun to dry. She reaches out, not to you, but to the skull. She touches it gently. You walk forward, because you cannot go back. You carry the folio's latest page etched into your hand like a sigil, a wound that never bleeds. Ahead, the path forks on the left. A door made of paper, it flutters despite the windless dark, inked with verses that dissolve as you read them. On the right, a door of gristle and knotted string. Inside is a library, no shelves, no books, only spines. Tens of thousands of human spines, rising from floor to ceiling like pillars in a cathedral, each one engraved with tiny black script. Each one humming. The sound is unbearable, too human to ignore, too dead to soothe. You recognize some of the sounds, not voices, exactly, but memories, a sob, a prayer. Each victim bound in bone and verse. Each emotion meticulously filed along the vertebrae. Somewhere among these thousands of bone columns is your future. Somewhere among them is your spine. You feel it, the weight of what hasn't happened yet but will. The humming shifts pitch, one spine in particular taller than the others, smoother, begins to glow. A name etches itself across the top, slowly, like a scar forming in real time. Isola Marrow. You approach, and the humming resolves into something almost comprehensible, a lullaby, soft, ancient. Horribly tender. You remember it, not as a song you heard, but one you sang in a dream or another life. Your hand brushes the spine. It burns like frozen metal. Your vision fragments. Flashes, a knife made of glass pulled from your mouth. A church made entirely of teeth, a cradle filled with salted bones. A wedding ring inscribed with a scream, then silence. The spine splits, and inside it, not marrow, but a second folio, this one made of skin, bound with the eyelashes of weeping men. Its cover bears no title, but when you open it, the pages bleed, as if the ink is running out. Then it stops mid-sentence. The final page is blank, but only for a second. Then a new line appears, etched in black fire, if she is the archive. You are the erratum, you drop the book. But it sticks to your hand, fused to your palm like a second skin. You try to scream. But the only sound is the turning of bone spines, one by one. All around you, each one pivoting slightly to face you. You are not a visitor anymore, you are being indexed. At the chamber's center, the ground opens into a spiral staircase made of folded ribs. At the bottom, nothing, a perfect black. But the folio in your palm opens again, involuntarily, and you see the next entry waiting. The ink quivers, impatient, somewhere above. You fall for what feels like weeks, the ribs spiral endlessly, vanishing upward into the hush you've left behind. Downward, nothing waits but pressure and perfume. The scent is unmistakable. The punctures, every line of the folio was composed not in haste, but with choreography, a waltz of wounds and whispered grief. You see the mirrors, 3 of them, each cracked in different ways. Your eyes are hollow and smoking, the folio in your hand pulses like a heart. In the second, you are younger, not by age, but by mistake. You've not yet opened the folio, your hands are clean. The third version plays in silence, only you, only her. Facing each other, a pen between you, or ribcage between you. You hold hands across the altar of who you used to be, and then, in unison. Not skin memory, you remember her breath against your throat the night she carved the first sentence. You remember offering her your clavicle, like a page she could trust, and then, across the room, seated upon a throne of kneeling figures, is the butcher herself. Her eyes are wrapped in gauze, but you know she sees you. Her hands are inked black, every finger a quill. The next entry requires a signature. You take a step forward, and the velvet floor moans. The throne creaks, the kneeling figures tremble. She smiles, and for the first time, the butcher and her congregation of kneelers dissolve into the folds of the velvet, leaving behind only a breathless quiet that seems to grow louder the longer you stand in it. You are alone again. Not on a door there and none here but on bone. You turn. The mirror fragments have reassembled, but into something new, a doorframe woven from vertebrae and tendon, pulsating gently like it still remembers a heartbeat. And through that doorway comes a scent you had hoped never to know again. Burned hair, boiling milk, rotting rose water, like a throat reluctantly swallowing you whole. You descend again, always down, always deeper, steps slick with mildew and candle wax. Walls weeping condensation that sometimes blinks. Your family's crypt was never just a burial site. It was a ledger carved in flesh and stone. They weren't laid to rest, they were recorded. Each ancestor was preserved in a pose that meant something. Your grandfather, hands folded over a locked book chained shut, your mother kneeling. You find her where they always warned you never to go, in the sealed alcove behind the ossuary altar, where prayers were only whispered backwards. Her name is gone, chiseled out. But she looks just like you, well, what you might look like if you died twice. The skin has been flensed away so precisely it seems drawn rather than removed. The bones painted with lines of ink that pulse faintly in your presence. The teeth are arranged in a smile, and you know it's not because she died happy. She wrote something, didn't she? You see the script scrawled across the slab she rests on. Not with ink, with marrow, you kneel. The words are familiar, but warped like reading your reflection in blooded glass. To become the butcher's heir, one must carve their past from another's present. She was the first draft, you were the revision. And suddenly, you remember, the folio didn't begin with you. It began through you. You weren't chosen, you were formatted. The old nursery rhymes return, now with their true words unredacted, bones in rows and names in ash. Trade your ton for father's lash ... if your sister dies too fast. You're the next one built to last, you're not shaking, the floor is. She leans forward, you do not flinch. And with her index finger, she presses against your chest right where your heart keeps hesitating. Something burns. You look down. Your sternum has opened like a book spine. Inside, not organs, parchment, still blank. Still waiting, she tilts her skull. Write wisely, the folio does not accept second drafts. And then she collapses back onto the slab, bones scattering like dice. You feel it before you see it. The folio hovers in front of you again. Pages flapping like wings of a bird with broken morals. You write, not because you want to, because you were always meant to. The ink smells like her breath. The words form not from thought. Each sconce burns with a different hue. One sputters green, another seeps a cold violet. The last flickers black, a fireless shimmer, like oil recoiling from light. Your chest still aches. Not from injury, but from authorship. You feel your heartbeat in paper. You suspect there's no longer blood in your veins, only in finished sentences. At your feet, the floor tiles change, from slate to enameled teeth. Hundreds of them, some still molar-shaped. Others whittled into runes. A few are not yet teeth at all, just the whisper of enamel trying to grow. The folio's voice returns. Only now it sounds older, not ancient, personal. Every story begins in silence, but the strongest ones begin in screams. You step forward and the walls open. Each room is a chapter you forgot writing. In the first, your brother, if you can still call him that, sits tied to a chair made of kneecaps. He hums a lullaby made for insects. You see the message you left for yourself when you were 12. Don't look up, the chalk isn't chalk. Naturally, you do, the blackboard is alive. Something behind it moves, writhes. This is where the folio began compiling you. And then, the chalkboard peels like skin. The flesh beneath pulses with hundreds of tiny mouths. Each one chants the name you don't remember earning. Archivist, archivist, archivist. You scream, but the sound goes nowhere. The wax in the corridor absorbs it. A mirror made of pressed skin. Your reflection isn't your own. She has your shape, your face, your stain of blood, but she's writing with a knife, not a pen. Each stroke cuts into her own forearm. You press your palm to the surface, it's warm. And then you're pulled in, not by force, but by consent. On the other side, a library made of organs. The shelves pulse, the books are living. Stitched together by vein and voice, the folio hovers midair, its pages dripping. This is not a chapter, this is a transcription room. Here, scribes never sleep. Because they are the dreams being written, you take your place, one of many. And then the quill rises, not made of feather, but femur. You take it, you dip it into your own open chest. She's been set in marble, half statue, half remnant. Her lips part in a scream that never finish. You recognize her face from the portrait hall, from your family's East Wing third cousin. You look around, something stirs in the soil. Roots, no, fingers, hundreds of them. Some tiny and infantile, others long and scribbled with curse script. They write blindly, seeking. One marrow shard, one name unspoken, a diary etched into bone. Stir counterclockwise beneath a weeping moon, whistle a lullaby backwards. At the bottom, a note best served to loved ones. She doesn't speak, she beckons, and you go. Because what else can you do, really? She leads you through corridors of hedgerow, deeper and deeper, until the sky disappears entirely and only the roots above remind you that you're not yet buried. Eventually, you come to the kitchen. Yes, that kitchen. The one where the folio began to bleed. The one where you made her. The room is still warm. The pot still bubbles. The ladle still stirs itself, but the diary, it's gone. You left it there, etched into her bones, sealed in broth. Did you read it all, love? Did you like the ending I gave you? You can't answer. Your jaw is clenched too tightly. Something inside you knows this is her final voice print, the last echo of the soul she once borrowed from you. And then the pot tips all by itself. The broth spills. A page from the folio drips ink onto the bone, as if trying to rewrite what's already carved. You realize what this is, a proofreading chamber. You are meant to correct the bones. You hear a scream echo through the trees, distant, familiar. Then another altar, another bone, another line. She wept as I begged her to stop carving. You scratch out wept, you write. Each bone now etched with your edits, your revisions of agony. You do not remember how long you worked. Days, moments, the garden has no clocks, only breath. And even that breath now smells of lacquered parchment and split marrow. A sound follows you, not footsteps, but the crackle of ink drying to fast. Something is behind you now, something waiting for its own rewrite, but you do not turn. You enter the greenhouse of regrets, where sunlight pretends to shine but only reveals more ruin. The windows are painted with false dawn. In it, a skeleton, draped in vellum and ivy. Around its neck hangs a nameplate, scratched not in letters, but teeth marks. You recognize the posture of the corpse. Guilt has a very specific slouch. They do not bind, they read, and then they retreat. A gate opens in the wall, a ribcage-shaped archway, pulsing. You pass through, into the chronicle chamber, here. But the floor crunches a carpet of fingernail clippings and broken quills. A figure sits in the far corner, hooded, its back to you. Writing with a pen made from a femur's sharpened edge. You do not see ink, only shadow trailing from the tip. The words it writes hover in the air, forming, dissipating. You recognize one phrase, she etched her love into their marrow. This one is alive, it pulses in your grip, breathes against your palm. You do not read it aloud, that would be unwise. But your mind absorbs the title, Chapter 13. And then, yours, still pink, still wet. Pinned on a page that isn't done writing itself, underneath, a sentence forming. This one thought they were safe because they documented the horror. But by recipe, some savory. Some medicinal, some marked sacrament. And your tongue, it's under seasonal specials. A parchment beside it lists ingredients, your regrets, your edits, the one she started before the folio. The origin of the diary, back when she still loved you. Back when her meals fed the village and not the void. Back when your hands didn't shake at the smell of rosemary, you know where she kept it. Beneath the salt cellar, buried in bone dust, locked in a child's jaw, it waits, and you will read it. It's buried under the larder, past the drowned pantry, beneath a hatch sealed with 3 bite marks, still bleeding. You kneel at the hatch, the wood weeps. You taste copper in your gums. The 3rd bite mark splits. You descend again, this time into heat. The kitchen below breathes. Its ovens are not extinguished. Its hearth is a lung, slowly collapsing and inflating. The fire doesn't burn, it contemplates. Around you, utensils that still twitch, spoons that scream if you touch the wrong ladle, and a butcher's block worn down not by blades. The cookbook lies on a cutting board of knucklebone, bound in a child's apron stiff with dried lard and lullabies. You recognize the embroidered initials, YH, you never knew her full name. Revised, scribbled over in 7 hands, some broken, some still writing. Stew for the unworthy ingredients. 1 heart, still loyal. 3 regrets, shredded to betrayals. Bone broth infused, 1 promise, overcooked. Directions, forget you ever loved them, then remember too late. Beneath the final line, a smear not ink. Not blood, tears, preserved in vinegar. You turn the page, another recipe. This one has your name at the top, and your spine as the garnish. But the instructions are incomplete. The last line simply says, to finish. A meal of memories, a soup of sorrow, broth of borrowed time. You drop the book, but it doesn't fall. It sticks to your hands, softens into flesh, and wraps around your wrists. The cookbook binds itself to you. You are now its chef. And the next meal must be served tonight. A bell rings above, 3 tones, 1 for each of your lies. The kitchen reorganizes around you, pans rattle into position. Knives pirouette in the air, The stove inhales. You are not cooking for her, you are cooking with her. The apron on the wall, the one stained with marrow and madness, climbs onto your shoulders. The strings knot themselves, something slithers from the cupboard. A rolling pin made of arm bones. Still warm, the chopping board whispers. Begin. You look at the ingredients laid before you. A sealed jar labeled Final Apology. A box of teeth, none yours, not yet, a vial labeled. Last words, unopened, you choose the jar. You do not open it, you pour the apology whole into the pot. It screams once, then quiets. The teeth rattle their approval, the kitchen sways, pleased. But the dinner table, and at its head, her chair. Still warm, still set, still waiting. You step through the steam, ladle still trembling in your hand. The kitchen below closes behind you. Not the one upstairs, the marble one with portraits that blink. This one sits beneath memory, a place no guest leaves with their name intact. You do not open the door, you knock ... once, twice. Unfolding like a jaw inside, the room is impossibly vast, an endless banquet hall, its length shifting every time you blink. The table stretches across eras, regrets, and 9 dialects of grief. Plates gleam with food that shouldn't exist, forgiveness flayed and seared, a salad of broken promises, a roast made from a decade you never lived. At the far end of the table, her chair, empty. But the steam rises from the plate before it. You walk the length of the table. Each place setting is familiar, unsettlingly so. One holds the glass you shattered in anger at 16. Another has your mother's fork, the one she hid during your silence. Another has a napkin folded into a letter you never sent. You're not just here to cook, the plates whisper. You're here to dine, and so you sit. Her chair remains empty. But the space beside you is warm. You begin to eat. First, the bread of memory, dry, bitter, studded with seeds of omission. Then, a sliver of remorse, raw, pulsing, served on a bed of sighs. For dessert, a spoonful of hope, curdled. The cookbook, now nestled beneath your ribs, flutters open. It reveals a new recipe. One that wasn't there before, funeral feast, for 2. The ingredients are you specifically. 1 jaw of silence too long, 2 eyes, open too late, all bones, carved into conversation, and then, below that, an unfamiliar ingredient. 1 borrowed name, you pause, what name? Then you remember, YH was never hers, it was yours. She wrote it in her apron because she took your pain when you couldn't carry it. She cooked not for you, but as you hand now, you've worn her skin, walked her steps, stirred her grief. The lights dim, one by one, the other chairs at the table fill with versions of you. The one who stayed silent. The one who ran, the one who denied her. The one who forgot her name, the one who will do it again. They eat too, they smile, you do not. Your portion is still untouched, because the final course requires a knife. And you've just found it buried in the stuffing of your seat cushion. It is small, ceremonial, and not made of metal. It is a shard of your spine, the one she spared when she still believed in you. You hold it, it hums, not with violence, with invitation. Carve the truth, the cookbook whispers, its voice now in your bloodstream. And so you do, not into flesh, not into food. You carve it into the air. I am the butcher, I am the feast. I am the one who loved, then left. I am the one who returns too late, the table nods. The other versions of you fade, one by one. Their chairs collapse into cinders, only yours remains. And hers still empty, still steaming. You rise, you take her plate, you eat. It is the most honest meal you've ever had. And for the first time since the folio opened, you weep without vinegar. The cookbook seals shut with a sound not unlike a gasp, a startled breath that's been held for decades. It has finished its course, for now, the door behind you where you entered no longer exists. The stairs descend in a spiral that narrows with every turn, until your shoulders graze the walls and your breath becomes the only space left. Then, the gallery. A long corridor lined with portraits, but these are not painted in oils. They're etched into slabs of meat, cured and framed in bone. Each canvas pulses faintly. Not yet, a future you, blank-faced, holding the cookbook open to a page that doesn't yet exist. You pass them all, each painting watches, and just one follows. And then you realize the truth that feels like gristle in your throat. She isn't waiting for you, she's waiting for herself. Another version of her, one you haven't yet met. With anticipation, it wants to open, but the lock is not mechanical. It is ritual. The cookbook whispers, 3 truths must be tasted. 1 must be swallowed. You glance around. You don't ask, you lift the first dome. Inside, a tongue, your own, not severed, but borrowed, coiled like a question you never asked. It smells of confession. You lift the second. Inside, you choose, your own tongue, you raise it. It pulses once, then dissolves the moment it touches your lips, like memory, like meaning. The taste, guilt baked into forgiveness. With a hint of citrus, the lock clicks. The door swings inward, not open. You step into the room beyond. And suddenly, it's her kitchen. The real one, the one from before the folio, before the cookbook, before the bones. She's there, too, stirring a pot, humming that same off-key lullaby. The one she always hummed when everything was about to go wrong, but something's off. The walls are too clean, the knives too sharp. The windows are open, something she never did when sorrow was near. You call to her, but your voice is gone. Of course, you ate it. She doesn't look up, she doesn't need to. You came too late, she says. But you always do, and then she turns. She wears no apron, just your old clothes. It's for the one you left behind. The bowl warms your hands, but your chest aches. Because there's no one else here, not really. She vanishes. The kitchen dims, the bowl grows colder, and it must still be bleeding. The page does not turn back, it never does. You linger in the kitchen longer than is polite, longer than is safe. The bowl cools further, its steam curling into the air like spirit smoke, tracing your outline as though mapping your decay in advance. You do not drink, you cannot, it is not meant for you, remember. The windows close themselves. The knives turn to face you, a cupboard creaks open. Inside, the shelves are lined not with spices or grains, but sealed jars, each containing a different version of her laughter, some joyful, some brittle, some muffled underwater. One jar is shattered, it leaks silence. The kitchen's warmth recedes, and a 4th dome, you hadn't noticed it before. The cookbook hums in your ribs again. There is a final course before the interlude. You must name the thing you ruined. You stare at the dome. It doesn't breathe like the others. It waits, the imitation of her steps aside. It gestures, mock gentle, mock familiar. You hear the bones of your past clicking beneath its movement, not for the stoop or the silence. If I forget who I am, will the recipes remember for me? They looked at me like I was dinner. So I fed them. You stop reading. It knows. The diary folds shut on its own. The hard paper curls, blackens, turns to ash. The imitation leans in close now. It sniffs your cheek, as though inhaling the pages you didn't read. She fed you. A corridor of neat hooks and hanging regrets, each one yours. One swings gently. From it dangles your old school apron, the one with her initials stitched inside. Some sway toward you, as if greeting an old friend. At the far end, a crooked archway. Made not of stone, nor bone, but sorrow cast in iron. The plaque overhead reads, "The Butcher's Folio." Index of the unprepared. You cross the threshold, and find yourself at a desk, your desk. From the early days, before the recipes turned red, on it, a stack of parchment. Ink that smells of marrow, and a quill made from her hair. You sit, the seat is warm, the paper reads. This is the place where names are removed. Begin again, or finish what was never started, even when the ink grows teeth and bites back, even when the parchment curls to form a mask. even when the mask lifts itself and begins to wear you. Behind you, the meat hooks begin to sing, a low, crooning hymn, slice and fold, slice and fold. Flesh remembers what it's told. You hum along, the desk grows heavier. No, not the desk, you are becoming what she became. You have written your name too many times now. It bleeds from the page, it drips from your mouth when you speak. It hangs in the air like steam from overcooked marrow, but you aren't done, are you? The desk has vanished. You're standing again in a room that wasn't there before. The walls are tiled in slate. It is somewhere in between, a space where ritual becomes recipe. She used to call it the salting room. You hear it now scratching. Soft, regular, just beneath your ribs. Now, not beneath, inside. Something's writing on your bones again. The cookbook, yes, but not just that. Now the diary etched in marrow is turning its own pages, inscribing her memories over yours. Your breath fogs. Not from cold, but from the realization that each exhale erases part of you. On the far wall, hooks of brass, set in a circle, suspended from them 13 aprons. Burnt at the edges, and on its front, a handprint, child-sized, yours. You take it down, it moans in your grip. Not sound, just pressure, grief-shaped, as you lift it to your chest. It folds around you, and with it, so does the memory. You're 6 years old. You're hiding in the dumbwaiter, clutching a wax apple. Someone is screaming upstairs, not in fear, in laughter. She's cooking. You want to go to her. You want to see the trick she does where the meat floats for just a second before landing perfectly in the pan, but you stay hidden. Because your father's voice is also in the air. And he is saying her name in a tone that carves. The dumbwaiter descends. And you descend with it into the kitchens below. Into the butcher's folio, back in the present, the aprons vanish, one by one. The cookbook reads aloud. Its voice is yours now, lower, hungrier. Page 47, brine the memory until pliable. Each labeled not with dates, but last words. One reads, I forgive you. Another, I was never hungry. Another, you left the cellar door open. They pulse gently, like sleeping creatures. At the center of the vault stands a table, carved from the thigh bone of something extinct. Upon it, a ledger, bound in sinew. Your hand moves before you can stop it. You open the book. You prick your finger on a quill that wasn't there a moment ago. You sign. Your name doesn't stay. It twists. It evolves. Letters rearrange into something older than you. Older than the recipes, a name you feel the walls whisper as your hand finishes the last curve. The cookbook sighs, relieved. Now you're part of it. From above, the sound of cleavers. Not falling but weeping. Tools do that sometimes, when their wielder breaks the oath. You turn to leave, but the exit is gone. Instead, a figure. She's wearing the apron now, the one you took. The one that moaned, only it's not her. It's what remains of her, the thing made from annotations and regrets. It speaks in overlay, your voice and hers tangled. You pickled me, remember? Not in vinegar, in remembrance. You could have let me rot, but you preserved me instead. You try to apologize, but the only words your mouth can form are ingredients. Butter, rue, star anise, lie. The figure nods. You were always better at recipes than remorse. She steps closer, touches your chest, and pushes. You fall backward into one of the jars. Glass doesn't break, it accepts. The liquid is not brine, it's ink, the ink you used to write her diary. You float, you dissolve, you remember the final page. No one's ever really gone. They're just shelved, the lid seals, and from the outside, a new label scrawls itself. I read it all, and I'm still hungry. You do not remember climbing out of the jar, and yet here you stand, soaked in ink that stains but does not drip. Your skin bears the scripty filigree of ingredients you never learned, languages your mother tongue flinched from. Every breath tastes of brine and regret. The pickling vault is gone now, a corridor narrow as a throat. Damp as an apology, you walk. The cookbook hums behind your ribs, tunes and minor keys that seem familiar, but morph mid-note into something crooked. The floor beneath you is not stone anymore, but compressed parchment. It wrestles with each step like pages disturbed in a forbidden swing. Then the corridor bends, like a spine cracked too far. At the bend, a door, black, wet, breathing. The handle is bone, yours, from your left hand, specifically before you were born. Yes, that's possible here. You grasp it, turn, push. Inside, the study of reversals, she designed this room for failures. The one bound in her hair, you remember the orchard, don't you? The trees that grew too fast, the roots that drank ink. The way the apples began to whisper recipes you never wrote. The journal's pages flutter. You don't touch them, you don't need to. Because the mirrors are reflecting your memories, not your body. Each pane shows a dish you ruined, a ritual you mispronounced, a trust you broke. One mirror shows the boy with the silver tongue. You fed him lies, salted in kindness, until he begged to be cured. You offered him soup. He choked on truth. Another shows the girl who taught you how to carve symbols into bread crust. You replaced her flour with bone ash. She dreamed in fire for 9 nights before disappearing behind the pantry wall. Yes, you remember now, but worst of all, the central mirror. It shows the first edition of the Folio, and bound. Pages weeping, and you just a child tearing one out and eating it. You chewed slowly, you swallowed wisdom that wasn't yours. She watched, she didn't stop you, because that was the point. The lectern's journal flips again. Now it writes by itself, a recipe appears. The ink that forgets. One betrayal, finely minced, to regrets. Distilled, a single tear of someone who still believes in you. Stir counterclockwise until the name fades. Drink before dawn or memory will fossilize. You reach out, but the pen moves first. In your hands, you hold a pot, a spoon. A flame crackling beneath a stove that wasn't there moments ago. The ingredients are on the table. You recognize none of them except one. The last meal freeze, but the meal in between. That's what makes a chef bleed. You ladle the soup into a bowl made of your own regrets. Offer it, the room holds its breath, and the footsteps stop behind you. You do not turn around, you ask, simply, will you stay this time? No answer. But a hand reaches past you, takes the bowl, lifts it, sips. You stir better than I ever did, but can you finish what I started? The answer is already boiling in your throat, and it tastes like ash. You awaken beneath a sky that remembers fire, insomniac things whispering constellations you were forbidden to trace. This is the gallows scriptorium. Though the name isn't carved into any lintel, no one needs reminding where they are. You doubt it would be comforting. The corridor slopes downward not like a tunnel, but like a surrender. The cookbook tugs toward your sternum again, not with urgency expectation. As if this place had waited long enough, and then you reach the chamber. It smells of copper ink, old parchment, and faintly of her perfume, lavender boiled with clove and dried regret. In the center, a slab, part altar, part table. Upon it, a single spine, not metaphorical. Bone, ribbed, ink-stained, still warm. This is the folio, the original, not the shattered annotations or singed copies tucked in back shelves. Hers, etched into the bones of everyone she ever loved. Yes, that includes you, and yes, they are still whispering. The marrow hums with fractured lullabies, a sibling's laughter. The quiet sigh of a lover forgetting your face, every vertebra a verse, every knuckle a footnote, and it is unfinished. A final page still wet, still twitching. It reads, he returns, he brings salt instead of honey. He knows not which tongue is his own. You lean in, your breath disturbs the ink. It curls into script, forms a question. Will you complete this? The pen beside the slab is carved from a femur hers, perhaps. You lift it, it recognizes your grip, it sings, your veins itch. You draft a new recipe. Recipe for becoming the book itself, one name. Surrendered completely, 3 secrets spoken backward into the mouth of a sleeping child. 5 drops of your own inked blood. Stir beneath a moon that no longer rises, bake within memory until flesh fork. Etched was ever yours, the folio pulses. It accepts, it wants more, so you write another. This one is darker, personal, a confession about the orchard. About what you buried beneath the roots, not her. No. Something worse, a promise you made to yourself. I will never taste again, but you lied. Because you always knew you would return here. And now, something behind you claps. Not in applause, in completion, you turn. A shape steps from the shadows, skin tight with ink, eyes hollowed by loss, you, but younger. Before you learn to burn flavor into your fears. Before you mistook guilt for seasoning. This version of you is smiling, and holding a cleaver. Its edge glows with familiar hunger. He does not speak, he does not need to. You wrote him into existence long ago, on a night when the thunder refused to end. Now, he's come to finish what you could not. You step back. He steps forward. Together, you approach the slab. You hand him the pen. He hands you the cleaver. Because the only way to end a folio is to bind it with the scribe. You raise the blade. He lowers the pen. You do not flinch. The cut is clean. Ink bursts from your chest, not blood, your final recipe, spilled across the slab. It hisses, it binds, the bone cracks, seals. The final page is written. You collapse, but do not die. Not exactly, instead, you dissolve. Into verses, into margins. Into the back cover, your breath becomes footnote. Your voice becomes dust tucked between the dedications, and then silence, except. The book exhales, it's complete now. Except it isn't, because somewhere behind the slab, another pen lifts. Another hand writes, and you realize. Someone else is reading you now. The Butcher's Folio, Volume 2, you dream in footnotes now. Each flicker of thought unfurls as marginalia a sideways whisper, a smudge of ink no one dares erase. The book cradles you, not as text, but as texture, your breath woven into the parchment's grain. Your memories footnoted in the curve of a question mark. You are almost gone, but not yet. Because something is reading you, you feel its fingers not of flesh, but of rusted vellum and veined shadow curling around your essence. Its eyes, plural and misplaced, skin the entries you never meant to write. It pauses. Somewhere in the folio's spine a paragraph you remember scratching into bone with broken nails twitches. Something resists you. A part of you refuses to be consumed. You remember the oven. The first recipe she ever taught you, not for food, for vengeance. Bone cracks at 1,100 degrees. But memory resists the flame. You remember her words because they were branded. The air tastes of mildew and unopened promises. You are no longer inside the folio. But it is inside you. You're in a kitchen. No, the first kitchen. Its hearth is dead, but warm. The girl is there. Her silhouette flickers. Her apron is stitched with sigils you half remember from the Caro manuscripts. Back when languages still bled if read aloud. She doesn't speak. She does not ask if you're ready, because you've already been prepared. Every curse, every blade, every haunted oven, they were the seasoning. She stirs, you taste, and the flavor, it is you. Because it knows you, because it is you. Because finally, you are ready to be devoured. The walls melt away, you are in a feast hall of bones. Guests stir from their slumber. Pale mouths open in anticipation, forks fashioned from ribs tap against stone plates. You walk down the aisle as a main course and a memoir. The girl places you at the center of the table. Not your body, your story, still warm. Still unfinished, the guests lean in, and one by one, they begin to read you aloud. With every word, you vanish a little more. The child who learned to read backwards and vanished between syllables. They step from the pages, resurrected by your offering. This is your legacy, to be consumed so others may be remembered. It's beautiful, it's grotesque, it's final, almost. Because one seat at the table is still empty. The one opposite you, and you know who it belongs to. She's late, she always was, you wait. And when she arrives, you rise, despite yourself, and offer her the first bite. She weeps, not out of guilt, but relief. Because you tasted the same as she did, and that means she was not alone, not then, not now, not ever again. The feast continues. Your story spills from mouth to mouth, etched in new voices, and somewhere, not entirely thought and listen, the guests murmur your lines now, whispering your sins with reverence, your memories like scripture passed from shadowed lips to skeletal ear. Your fingers twitch in phantom memory, you recall the bone quill. The brittle curve of sentence structure carved under duress, every comma like a chipped tooth. Each step they take erases a part of the hall. The long, oaken table splinters into vorms, the plates flake into prayers. The candles burn backward, stubs growing long again, wax returning to the wick with a sizzle like whispered warnings. The girl keeps writing, you keep reading. Because it's not a recipe anymore. It's a ritual. The folio was never just a book. Buckle with the pressure of centuries. The hall begins to weep sticky tears of rendered ink and marrow-thick regret. You reach for the cookbook. It bites you gently, affectionately, as if saying, you were always mine, but then it recoils. Because something older enters the room. A presence so vast it can only be felt in negative space, the silence that follows a screen. The same crooked line repeated over and over at the bottom of every forbidden page, author unknown, no longer. You speak your name, not the one you were born with, the one carved into your final page, the butcher's heir. Your voice echoes once, twice, then again, but slightly wrong. Like your vocal cords have multiplied mid-syllable. You taste like her. You nod, because you do, because you are. And with that, the kitchen folds, like a recipe card shut between oily fingers. Every exhale whispering a name you don't quite remember but deeply regret, and then it says yours. You flinch, but it's not malice, not this time. The voice within the folio is not the girl's. Or maybe we succeeded, same difference. The book folds open, spine cracking like ancient knuckles. It reveals a new chapter, one you never wrote, at least, not intentionally. Bury the tongue beneath the orchard, boil the teeth until the truth surfaces. Feed the echoes, or they'll feed themselves. Never bless the stew, a small aside, inked in a different hand. You take her hand, it crackles, you crackle. Because now, finally, you understand. This wasn't her story, not really, it was yours. She just wrote around you, her recipes, your ingredients. Even if they leave a bitter aftertaste, the fire licks your skin like an old friend. And from somewhere within the ashes, the girl hums her first recipe. It is a lullaby, it is a eulogy. And the further you go, the less the air remembers light. You carry with you the last echo of bells remember, though you never heard them ring. At the bottom, the air thickens with salt and mildew. You know, instinctively, you're beneath the crypts now, but not within them. No, this is older than the crypts. This is the part of the folio not written, but felt, a place mentioned only once. In a phrase inked in dried gall, below where morning grows its teeth. You open the rust-slicked door inside. The room is round. The walls are glass, not clear, but smoked, bruised, filled with moving shadows that do not reflect you. In the center, a table made of jawbones, all affixed with fine iron pins. On it rests a book, the Folio, but not as you've seen it before. This one breathes, it inhales softly as you approach. Now, there are no candles, but the chamber glows with a faint blue fog that clings to the pages like breath on a mirror. You reach out, and the moment your fingers brush the leather stitched from something disturbingly human-shaped, you hear it, her voice, not from the pages. From within you, you've seen what I've seen. That's enough to make you mine. You try to pull away, the book pulls back. Your hand is locked in place, flesh melding with cover, tendons becoming text. You look down and see your skin darkening with ink. Lettering flows up your arm like a vine of burning thorns. It hurts, not in the way pain hurts, in the way memory hurts. You see every name she carved. You see the man with his tongue removed so she could keep his silence. You see the twins drowned in mercury because they shared too much. The pages were placeholders. The cover was temporary. You are the new binding. Your name becomes unreadable. Your past replaced with entries. Your breath fogs not the room, but the glass. From the inside, yes, you're on the other side now. You remember, don't you, what the archivist said back in Section 2? The Folio never needed a reader, only a body, all staring into the room with eye sockets full of longing. You want to scream, but your mouth has already shaped into a stanza. You're being read now, the final line of the current entry, bleeding across your ribs in silver calligraphy. The 21st descends gladly, their flesh eager parchment. The room goes quiet for a moment, then you hear a door open above you. Footsteps slow, careful, another descent. Another curious soul, you understand now. You're not alone in this chapter, you're the ink for the next one. You wake beneath the whispering rafters of the reliquary attic. The ceiling sags low, timber ribs bound with centuries-old cloth charms and rusted nails. Every step sends dust curling like breath through a corpse's lips. You were not meant to be here, but then again, nothing alive ever is. This is where she began keeping the bones. They aren't arranged as one might expect, no shrine, no ossuary. Instead, each is tucked into odd places, nested like secrets, a finger bone behind a loose brick, a jaw wedged inside an old cradle, a femur swaddled in pages torn from a child's picture book. You reach for the book without thinking and flinch. The paper groans, the image on the cover shifts. A child with hollow eyes cradles a teddy bear, but the bear's mouth is full of teeth now. You blink, it's a normal bear again. Just worn, just ... waiting. The attic is colder now. You kneel beside an open crate, half covered by a moth-eaten quilt. Beneath it lies what at first seems like carved ivory, but no artisan's tool made these grooves. It's a rib. Etched deep into its curvature, he promised not to scream. You trace the letters and feel them tremble. The air thickens with the coppery sting of ink, except it isn't ink. The writings etched across these bones are written in blood blackened by time. Some lines you recognize from her diary, half-thoughts, confessions, dreams, others are newer. The markings aren't old, they're recent. Ours old, perhaps, maybe less. Something breathes in the rafters above you, not wind, not animal. Something that once might have been human, clinging to the last place she slept, fed, or wrote. The diary had warned of this place in whispers. She writes faster when she's hungry. And when the bones run out, she writes on skin. You take a step back, but something shifts beneath your boot. A crunch, you lift your foot, a tooth, intact, human, still warm. You back away as a voice croaks out from under the fabric. It's not hers, not exactly, but it remembers her. She loved them all, it rasps. She loved them so much she couldn't leave even a single piece behind. You recognize the cadence, it's her father's. Twisted, reanimated, looped on an echo of grief and devotion. You see now, every bone, every tooth, every inclement is part of her family, her friends, her beloveds. They were never buried, never burned, they were preserved. to write a diary long enough to hold everything she felt. The attic pulses now like a heart. The walls drip with ink, the rafters creak a lullaby. You realize you're not alone. Your name appears again, this time with a date, tomorrow's. The rain has ceased, but the bones still whisper. You leave the room of plagues behind, dragging the scent of curdled poultices and moldy gauze with you. Every corner of the manor has grown quieter, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath, waiting to see what you'll do next. The candle you hold gutters, then surges with a strange vigor. Something is guiding you, not a pull, not quite a voice, but a sense of inevitability woven into your limbs. Your feet find the servants' corridor again, only this time the path leads down. Far deeper than the wine cellars, deeper than the root vault, the walls grow slick, not with damp, but with something oily and warm. You wipe your hand against your coat and it comes away dark, nearly black, and smells faintly of cloves and rot. You descend into a hollow chamber where the air is unnaturally still. 7 arched niches surround the room, each containing an urn sealed with wax and carved bone stoppers, and there, one particular passage has no text, only pressure. Your hand hovers above it, and the bone in your wrist throbs in resonance. You've read this before, in dreams, or in the static between stations. The ink lifts from the page and speaks aloud. She burned the first of her lovers beneath the obsidian tree. Not for betrayal, but because she could not bear to forget him. You flipped further, unable to stop. When her son drowned, she inked his memories onto her own vertebrae. Each year, she removes one. Each year, she forgets how he screamed. The candle sputters. Wax floods your hand like blood. One final note appears, a sigil burned into the parchment in reverse, only legible when reflected in a pupil. You blink, and it's there seared across your vision. The Black Psalm of Vorthar has a single mention of this glyph. It is said to unmoor the soul from chronology, allowing memories to be rewritten by proximity. The archivist warned long ago. He who stares too long at her diary will not know which life was truly his. And then, with a thunderclap muffled by fathoms of soil above, the folio speaks again. You have reached the spine. The floor opens, not a trapdoor, not stone, flesh. You fall into her, into marrow-bound catacombs where every bone sings a memory not yours. You taste ink on your tongue, thick, bitter, with notes of belladonna and morning. Far above, the niche of your name seals itself. The spiral staircase narrows as you descend. Below, the lanterns no longer glow with flame, but with a bioluminescent hush, faint, yellow-green pulses, like veins in a sickled eye. You've come this far for her, for the folio, and because, let's be honest, you've already seen too much to leave clean. A carved arch greets you at the base, twisting vines of bone, each leaf a scapula, each blossom a molar. You duck beneath it. Black with centuries of soot, along the butcher's block are stains that refuse to die with their donors. You step lightly, but every heel click is swallowed, not by echo, but by something more curious. The room is listening. Each sound is weighed, filed in her memory, because she never really left this room. You see it then on the wall, her recipe slate, still smeared in chalk scrawl for marrow soup, spine of loyalty. To regrets, boiled soft, whisper of a name not yours. And below it, etched deeper than chalk could dare, etched into what you love, the flavor clings. Her voice clings too, doesn't it? You feel it now, a low croon in your ear, as if someone were stirring broth right behind your left shoulder. You turn, no one, but something is bubbling. Not soup, though. You follow the scent of rot to the cold pantry. Inside are shelves stacked not with jars, but with heads wrapped in wax cloth. Carefully labeled, you lift one. The face is, dreaming, eye-twitched beneath lids. The tag reads, for Sunday broth. Regret in D minor, one of them hums. You nearly drop it. The wax stirs. A whisper leaks out. You were at the door, but you chose the stairs. That's when you see the spine, the book resting on the meat hook above the cold stone counter. It drips. bound in the skin of a sister not hers, and inked in something thicker than ink. The folio, the butcher's diary, you reach up. And oh, dear listener, did you really think it would be that easy? The book flinches, a nail through its spine jerks it up, tugged by a length of intestine disguised as twine. You follow the twitching string, tracing it along the rafter beam where more hooks dangle most empty. One knot, a child's arm dried like jerky, still clutching a wooden spoon. The trap was clever, the bait was inevitable. And beneath your feet, the oven stirs, the floor grates split apart. The iron stove groans and slides, revealing a shaft lit from within not by flame, but by memory. You hear a lullaby, painted in blood on the descending rung, recipe 99, the archivist. And below that, at fear while still warm, you press forward, drawn by a weight in your chest that feels almost ancestral, as if your bloodline itself remembers this descent. It rides on the central pedestal, etched into the articulated skeleton of a human back, each vertebra a stanza. The scapulae hold maps inked in lovers' names. You dare touch it. When she whispered to the marrow of her first love and listened for answers. When she took her dying mother's skull and etched their family tree along the curve of the temple. The scholars of Lefros once tried to mimic it using criminals, but all such attempts ended in gibbering ruin. Something about the intent mattered. Loreline didn't kill for art, she loved. And love, as you now understand too well, is the sharpest blade. In a trance, you trace her final etching just 3 lines, hidden inside a kneecap. I kept your heart wrapped in my name. I listened through your teeth. I am still here. The chamber hums. The book ceases whispering. Something notices your presence in a way that feels less like sight, more like tasting. But never like this, never this colorless. It glares down like an opened eye, blind but watchful, milky and full of quiet condemnation. It stains the frost with a jaundiced hue. Whatever fruit it once bore has long since withered to husks, yet the trees still stand in neat, funereal rose roots curling upward, bark riddled with veins that whisper when wind passes through. The diary etched into vertebrae, yes, her folio was never bound in leather. No, it grew, page by page, bone by bone, from the soil like fungi. You crouch now beside one such growth. It resembles a scapula, but the marrow is hollowed into script. The letters shine faintly in the dark, not inked but seeped into the structure. You don't remember reading that one before. You don't remember finding this page at all. And yet, your gloved fingers shake with familiarity. You press on. Like silverware being laid beside a grave. No, not that. It's the sound of teeth knocking in a wooden drawer. A tall tree at the orchard's center gnarled, knotted. I dream of the red house and its open-mouthed floor. I keep dreaming because the floor never finishes its sentence. The butcher called this the red house right. Unremarkable name, yours. You stand quickly, heart crawling up your throat, but the trees do not care for your panic. The orchard folds in on itself behind you like an origami of roots. The marrow-lettered page in your hand crumbles to ash, yet the words have already tattooed themselves inside your skull. You will carry them now, whisper them in sleep. Curse someone with them later. The diary is not complete. The butcher still writes, somewhere behind the bark and bone of the world. And you're walking the exact order of entry she bled into existence. A pilgrimage not of faith, but of annotation. You pass another page, this one bound in ribs, and you avert your eyes. The script is shaped like teeth. Reading it would feed it. The moon has followed you deeper into the orchard. It doesn't rise, it approaches. By the time you reach the heart, where the folio's first sentence supposedly sank into a lover's spine, where bone bloomed, and where the butcher began her archive with the sentence, I am not unkind, merely honest, you kneel. You do not mean to, but your knees remember, you do not cry. What remains of the diary rests on a stone plinth at the altar's end, surrounded by the calcified husks of those who once sang her praises. The air smells of myrrh and marrow. Dust dances in thick, choking spirals. You are not alone in this room. though nothing stirs. Nothing visible. Above you, the vaulted ceiling is frescoed with scenes long-faded angels bleeding from the eyes. Her smile mirrors one you saw etched into a thigh bone 3 levels below. You kneel before the altar, not out of reverence, but because your legs demand it. This chapel was once consecrated to Saint Vahidra, the veiled martyr whose heart beat 6 days after her beheading. Now the tapestries have all been scorched, except one. Or a verdict, your breath shortens, from the corners of the chapel, those bone fragments. They are facing you now, arranged like pews, witnesses. The last 5 pages of the folio are carved into a slab of pale rib, and broken save for the hairline cracks near its curve. Her writing here is no longer the neat. You read them aloud. You have no choice. The slab burns cold against your fingertips, and your mouth opens of its own accord. The voice is not your own. It's hers, low, insistent, and full of teeth. You don't want to. They begged for salvation. I offered memory instead. I etched their names into my marrow, and I named it gospel. The stone beneath you splits. You fall not into darkness. The vow to outlast the silence, one final line, etched in larger strokes than the rest. They will never burn me out. The plinth crumbles, so do the pews. The bone congregation collapses inward. No, the fluttering of pages. You rise slowly. One more page remains, but it is not hers. The corridor narrows, not by construction, but by sheer insistence of shadow thicker than mere dark. Each sheet etched with ink the hue of diluted ash and something more primal, bone marrow black. You step into what was once a chapel, or perhaps it still is. The architecture forgets itself here. Their forms caught mid-writhing in frozen convulsions across the ceiling. Their robes ripple slightly, as if submerged. Not breathing, waiting, you notice your name again. Upon it, the bones, her bones. Laid out in perfect array, phalanges fanned like prayer cards, a ribcage split open like a lectern, each piece inked. Each line of her diary carved directly into the ivory, her final testament singing in looping phrases that twist around marrow like vines that never stopped blooming. You try not to read. And in his other hand, a quill made of her hair dipped perpetually in your blood. You didn't see the incision, but it's there, throat level, leaking memory. He speaks, tells of the folio cradle, a chamber where memory is transcribed into flesh. Here, authors don't write, they become scripture. They are the ink, the parchment, the sign. And sin, you realize, is recursive. You're no longer walking. The chapel lifts you by unseen threads, your limbs string taut like marionette lines pulled from the very air. The hanging congregation applauds without sound, and in the right, sterner, you will make them remember. And now the call back subtle, cursed, the hymn you have heard back in section 3, hummed by the fire maiden with no skin, is clearer now. It matches the rhythm carved into the tibia before you. You are not reading the diary, you are reading yourself. The priest offers you the quill. Not a request, not really, you take it. The walls here have no stone, no timber, no decay. Only smooth bone, polished and pale, with the faintest carvings that glint when you don't look directly at them. They whisper in reverse. These bones, words curl backward, syllables tangle like hair around a comb, and you begin to feel your memories retreat. Not in full, not yet, but her shadow, the way it leans forward before she does. The way it smiles wider than her lips permit. The girl who became the scribe, the girl who bartered ink for marrow. The butcher's folio had many chapters. Some were blank, some were soaked, some refused to stay still. But this chapter was the softest trap, because it lured you in with silence. The folio doesn't disappear, it makes you do that work for it. Remember how your name appeared earlier in the margins. It wasn't written in, it was absorbed. The walls begin to curve now. A dinner where every guest was you, a confession you scratched onto the coffin before they buried your voice. Each recollection removes another truth you once carried. Her diary is filling up. You catch your reflection in the marrow-polished walls. It lags, then smiles a beat too early. She is in you now, and you are within the chapter. Remember section 4. The one where the whisper behind the door knew your favorite fear. That whisper returns, louder, bolder. It says, "Only 5 more pages. Make them yours. You want to run." The folio accepts your offering. The page turns itself. You descend into the ossuary beneath the sorrowing cloister, an neck so ancient even the sisters had stopped speaking its name aloud. Its light is swallowed into the marrow. You're reminded of the bones on the bishop's desk, the ones inked with curling script, each line curling inward, like a snare tightening. A spine strung with black beads, a sternum cracked open and used as a cradle for a single obsidian key. You don't touch it, but it notes you. Then the chamber opens like a mouth. Invocations in dead dialects, nonsense that becomes rhythm when read aloud. You realize, this is not a room, this is her, or what's left of her. The butcher didn't just write her diary. She became it. A spindly cradle of bones sits in the room's center. The final folio, you remember the entry from section 14. She carved her last love letter into her own femur. No one ever read it. Well, it's here now, and it's open. You approach. The key in your pocket, the one you found beneath the weeping statue in section 19, grows hot. The script on the bone glows dully, as though the room itself has exhaled for the first time in centuries. It is cold here, colder than outside, colder than crypts or cellars or snow-draped tombs. This chill belongs to memory, or rather it mimics the memory of breath. A soft rising and falling, like a slumbering ribcage carved from the bones of those who dared to name the butcher. It is her diary, etched not in ink, not in charcoal nor paint, but in marrow. The spine is a braided coil of vertebrae. The covers, scapula, femur, clavicle, arranged into cruel elegance. Each page a thin, translucent shavings of rib. You don't turn them, they open themselves, one by one, in your presence. As if greeting you, as if recognizing you. You hear her voice. Not in your ears, in your teeth, in your blood. I fed their names into the cold. One by one, they returned with blank faces and voices like mine. You feel a name stir inside your tongue. It isn't yours. It never was. The mystery of the moaning walls, their voices. The way the portraits blinked, their eyes. The way the door you entered disappeared. Their bones. You were never an archivist. You were always a missing name, a final forbidden line, pulsing with heat, flares across the bone page. The last reader must close the book from within. The pedestal tilts. The room folds inward like breathing reversed. The shadows clamor, hopeful, childlike. One portrait on the wall hasn't blinked yet. It's waiting. You look, and finally, you do.